and friends. All right, family and friends, hope all is well. I believe we are up and going. Very interesting topic or article coming to you. Your friend Donovan Hilton, everything civics, education, and engagement related, respectfully, especially in urban areas. Hopefully, I can be someone to help provide resource, insights, or access, or help stimulate your mind as far as civic will and dealing with in urban areas. And so I'm live on Instagram right now, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And for those that are on my Instagram, please feel free to go to my vote for Donovan Hilton to get to be able to see the screen or be able to see the articles I'm about to review. I learned that I'm not able to share my screen on this Instagram and actually share it directly to my computer or device to read an article. That's kind of like infringement. Respectfully, I didn't know that or something of that nature. And so I've been blocked a few times. And so I'm going to just, if you're on Instagram, I'm going to read, what I'm, read out loud what I have in front of me. And please, I hope I can leave the link of the article in the description. And if not, go to my YouTube, vote for Donovan Hilton, Facebook, or LinkedIn to check out the live with the actual sharing of the article. Before I continue on, I want to shout out, if you can see my shirt, straight out of WAKO, World Association, World Association Kickboxing Organization. If you're familiar with WAKO, it is basically, I'm not speaking out of ignorance, the body that oversees kickboxing at the international level and works in conjunction with the Olympics. Kickboxing was almost a Olympic sport just a few months ago, but it missed the final cut, or it made the final cut and it didn't get chosen. And so that was a journey that I had a chance to experience combat sports. The WAKO USA, also known as Team USA Kickboxing, led by President Rob Zabilski and his great team, have done an outstanding job in the United States of America promoting kickboxing not only as a combat sport, but also as an opportunity to advocate health and wellness and obviously self-defense at the minimum. And so I want to shout out Coach Kevin Walker in the Nashville, Tennessee area, who introduced the world of combat sports to include kickboxing, K1 kickboxing at the minimum to me, and help provide an opportunity for me to promote combat sports to include Team USA Kickboxing, and helping to promote and be the announcer to welcome the national championships 3 times in Nashville, Tennessee. I'll say that again. I had a chance to promote the USA National Kickboxing Championships 3 times in Nashville, Tennessee, and served as the welcoming host for the championships. And I want to say, if I speak out of ignorance, that there was about $1 million generated over 3 years, for that area. The first championship was held in a more developing community, if you will, of Nashville, and it grew from there. And I want to shout out the Metropolitan Nashville government agency, or the mayor. I want to shout out Visit Music City, the Nashville Convention Center arm, if you will, for providing support for Team USA Kickboxing to work in Nashville and Tennessee. And so the state and the city definitely, and the county definitely recognize Team USA Kickboxing. So I have my shirt on. I'll leave a link to Team USA Nashville. Go to Team USA Nashville on YouTube to watch more or check out more stories or my experience going through combat sports, especially with Team USA Kickboxing. And so let me get to this article. I know everybody's like, let's get to the article respectfully, but I want to make sure I do my shout outs. I know it's live, but if you're not live, you can fast forward. I also want to shout out National College. They are one of my former employers. I served as an admissions representative and soon the director of admissions for this great brand for a number of years. And this brand helped me become a better professional as I became a consultant. So I want to make sure I shout out, I sip some tea here want to shout out my wife who made the tea for me, prepared it for me. I'm going to wave back at her on live on IG. I want to shout out my family as well, immediate family that support me, extended family that supports me as well. And big shout outs to you all. Much love. So today we're going to be talking about civics. Oh, before I forget again, forgive me, but if you're on LinkedIn, I need you to follow me on LinkedIn. Vote for Danavan Hilton. Vote for Danavan Hilton. I want to do my lives from my Vote for Danavan Hilton LinkedIn page, but I got to get my followers up from my understanding, at least. And if you have a better way, let me know. So right now, if you're on LinkedIn, I'm doing it from my personal page. But I want to go to my Vote for Danavan Hilton page and do my lives there as I'm doing on my other platforms. And so moving on, thank you for liking, following, subscribing, all those good things. Let's jump into it. Huge shout out to NBC News. And I'm a disclaimer, when I provide this information, these daily insights, I pretty much try my best to use the sources that came to me. Again, the idea with these daily insights, or this particular part where I'm reviewing information, is to, again, big shout out to my family, they're commenting. But the big part of, so I'm losing my train of thought, a big part of, what I want to do is just provide insight that comes to me in real time, save it, and make sure you have it. Because if you follow my work, I'm building and managing relationships is what I do in the areas of business, community, and civic relations, to either help individuals develop, get their customer base up, get their base up, their audience up, or to increase their presence in the community for more buy-in for a number of different reasons. Traditionally, around workforce development, labor, employment, housing, real estate development, housing, urban core infrastructure development, as well as nonprofit development, and just businesses that want to grow and reach a new segment. So those are the areas, and it dabbles into civics. And bringing it all back, again, I want to just say the sources that come to me as far as this information, I don't look for a particular source. I look at, what came to me, and I try my best to be integral. And hey, this is where I got the information first. I want to share it from this source, and we can do our research and use other sources. But one source is not better than the other. We all have our perspectives. I just want to share information for us to have conversation and stimulate minds. So with that being said, huge shout out to NBC News and any source that I use to cover what I'm talking about. And we'll jump right into it. This conversation is dealing around, and again, my focus on Vote for Danavan Hilton is to make sure I'm discussing and stimulating conversation dealing with the United States, the United Kingdoms, and African diaspora countries. And when I say United States and United Kingdom, particularly in urban-based areas. And when I talk about African diaspora countries, I'm talking about those countries and their growth, development, sustainability, their relationships, what's happening with them. And it's just a personal thing that I enjoy doing. And so I cover things internationally, as well as things within the United States, within those states of the United States of America, and again, throughout the United Kingdom. So again, like, follow, and thank you for all the support. Let's finally jump into this after 5 minutes. I'm going to try my best to shorten that time up. But it's ultimately, I want to give my shout out. So here we go, jumping into it. Supreme Court paves the way for Trump to send migrants to South Sudan. And again, in this case, we cover African diaspora countries, what's going on there, as I cover stuff within urban areas of the U.S., United Kingdom, what's going on there. And so I do it because I want to make sure it's talked about respectfully. And respectfully, with integrity and love, can there be things that always add to it to make situations better, improve? They say sometimes your neighbor's problems become your problems if you don't help out. So it's a lot. We're just having conversations. So what do I mean by that? Nothing. It's just stimulation of conversation. So moving on as far as the topic of hand here. And I'm going to try my best. I'm going to shout out my friend Joe T. Baker. Joe T. Baker III. Check him out online. J as in Joe, T as in Tom, B as in Baker, 3, JTB3, the numerical number 3.org. Has a great story and about perseverance. And when he shares a story, he says, "Commercial break me, please," because he wants to separate what the story is or what the information is and his personal thoughts. And so he inspired me. I'm not sure where he got it from. I'll make sure I shout him out. Follow his work, JTB3.org. So there we go. Supreme Court paves the way for Trump to send migrants to South Sudan. It's important. We want to make sure we just shout out those countries. The Justice Department has sought clarification of a recent Supreme Court decision that cleared the path for the administration to quickly deport immigrants to third countries. Now, disclaimer, I have not read this article yet. I said, let me just wait, and let's just look at it together. And you guys can get my reactions or emotional intelligence about it. We can all learn together. So again, the Justice Department had sought clarification of a recent Supreme Court decision that cleared the path for the administration to quickly deport immigrants to third countries. Let's see. I want to shout out Lawrence Hurley for this article. Shout out Twin Mac for joining. Thank you for the love. Waving back. All the love and support. Is that an agreement for Twin Mac's personal and professional success? For sure. Jumping into the article. Washington. And again, shout out Lawrence Hurley, who put this article together. Again, we're just talking about a current event. Supreme Court paves the way for Trump to send migrants to South Sudan. I'm an advocate respectfully of conversations dealing with business, community, and civic relations dealing in urban areas of the U.S., United States of America, United Kingdoms, and African diaspora countries, just to make sure conversation and stimulation is there. And so we're jumping into this conversation. Washington, the Supreme Court on Thursday allowed President Donald Trump to move ahead with plans to send 8 convicted criminals to South Sudan, a move that had been blocked by a federal judge who accused the administration of defying his instructions. In an order, the court clarified its decision from June 23rd that made it easier for the U.S. to deport migrants to third countries to which they have no previous connection. And I guess respectfully, that's just kind of where I want to look at, this part of the article. Respectfully, clarification that made it easier for the U.S. to deport migrants to third countries to which they have no previous connection. And I would assume those that, are residing in these third countries may want clarification as well. So that's kind of the basis of what we're talking about here. And we stand in agreement for just things working for good. The Supreme Court said in the unsigned order that its earlier ruling applied to 8 men who are being held in a U.S. facility in Djibouti, forgive me if I mispronounced that, meaning the judge's later decision was unenforceable. 2 of the court's liberal members, Justices Sonoa Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, dissented. And if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name, please forgive me. What the government wants to do concretely is send the 8 non-citizens it legally removed from the United States from Djibouti to South Sudan, where they will be turned over to the local authorities without regard for the likelihood that they will face torture or death, Sotomayor wrote. I'm going to read that again. What the quotations here, what the government wants to do concretely is send the 8 non-citizens it illegally removed from the United States from Djibouti to South Sudan, where they'll be turned over to the local authorities without regard for the likelihood that they will face torture or death, Sotomayor wrote. She also accused the court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, of favoring the Trump administration over others. Today's order clarifies only one thing: other litigations must follow the rules by the administration. But the administration has the Supreme Court on speed dial, Sotomayor wrote. I'll read that again. Today's order clarifies only one thing: other litigants must follow the rules, but the administration has the Supreme Court on speed dial, Sotomayor wrote. Trina Riel Muto, a lawyer for the 8 men, said in an email that the Supreme Court's decision rewards the government for violating the judge's order. In doing so, she added the court endangers the life and safety of 8 men who are now subject to imminent deportation to war-torn South Sudan. And respectfully, that's another piece that's why I wanted to bring up, because if you've been following my channel, we've done several videos reviewing current events in South Sudan, respectfully. And so it was a two-part process in regards to the clarification, making it easier for the U.S. to deport migrants to third countries to which they have no previous connection, but respectfully going to South Sudan where we've covered it's war-torn, respectfully. So I just wanted to see, what does that look like? What's going on here? Staying up to date with conversations, and at the same time, standing in agreement for peace as far as, the spiritual side, prayers, and just, that part going out, into the world, the faith part, as far as reconciliation and development and growth, sustainability, when we cover these things. Trisha McLaughlin, if I mispronounce your names again, forgive me. Trisha McLaughlin, a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, called the ruling a win for the rule of law, safety, and security of the American people. Respectfully, I can see that statement being true, respectfully, for the American people, because you're getting people, if, from what I can understand, bring challenges, I can see them being removed. Definitely a win in that regard, respectfully. That's why I'm just looking at, where they're going, especially when there's so much challenges going on where they're going, just kind of see what that looks like, But I could definitely see that statement being, like it's a win in regards to, removal. These sickos will be in South Sudan by Independence Day, she said in her statement. The men are from various countries, including Myanmar, and Vietnam, and were all convicted of serious crimes in the United States. They were detained in Djibouti after Murphy ruled that the administration had defied his nationwide order by putting them on a flight bound for Sudan. Murphy ruled, so they were detained in Djibouti after Murphy ruled that the administration had defied his nationwide order by putting them on a flight bound for South Sudan. Some have had a reasonable fear of interviews with immigration officials as required by Murphy's order, but no adjunctions have been made, their lawyer said. In its most recent filings at the Supreme Court, the Trump administration said it had received assurances from South Sudan that the men will not be subject to torture under the United Nations Convention Against Torture. And so, respectfully, if I understand one of the biggest challenges is these individuals not going back to their original, place of origin, if you will, but they're going into places that are already challenged, and obviously their safety in regards to what that looks like legally is on everyone's mind, and so from what I can see, South Sudan, is assuring, that the men will not be subject to torture, the United Nations Convention Against Torture. And let's see if we can look that up real quick while we're here. United Nations Convention Against Torture. That up, see what kind of information we can pull. Man, still loading. Let's see if anything pops up. I don't see anything. Try more time. Okay, so I'm going to go to Wikipedia. So according to Wikipedia, United Nations Convention Against Torture, for the purpose of this convention, the term torture means any kind of, well, okay, so I'm not sure if we can even, but you guys can look it up, United Nations Convention Against Torture. And so under that situation, under that focus, there's supposedly assurance that everything will, that aspect of they will not be subject to torture, And if that's part of the rules of not being subject to torture, then respectfully we want to follow those rules. And so it looks like, again, I don't know the details, but it's looking like, respectfully to South Sudan, that they are going to exercise the United Nations Convention Against Torture, and the men will not, or the individuals will not be subject to torture. The Trump administration had asked the court to clarify its June decision, asking Massachusetts U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy of being an unprecedented defiance of the justices. Murphy had blocked the South Sudan deportations because he deemed them to be in violation of an earlier ruling he made. That ruling said the government must give migrants a meaningful opportunity to bring claims that they would be at risk of torture, persecution, or death if they were sent to countries the administration has made deals with to receive immigrants who cannot be sent elsewhere. Wow, that is, that's why I say civics, commercial break me please. Civics, it's a lot of diplomacy, it's a lot of ambassadorship, and you're dealing with, the challenges of every detail of size and magnitude of the world, if you will. I've experienced it at the local level, but if you look at it from principles, these are all essential focuses, and it just makes me want to say, at the minimum, peace be still, and just stop and give thanks for everyone's well-being, everyone in the process, their well-being. It's a lot of moving parts, and moving forward, the Supreme Court in June blocked Murphy's broad nationwide order, but both Murphy and lawyers representing the plaintiff said the decision did not apply to the ongoing litigation over whether the 8 men in Djibouti needed to have an opportunity to raise specific concerns about being sent to South Sudan. Murphy, who was appointed by President Joe Biden, has come under heavy fire from MAGA world as a result of his rulings in the case. The Supreme Court's original decision merely said that Murphy's nationwide ruling was blocked, but did not explain its reasoning or how exactly it should be applied. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented, with Sotomayor saying that Murphy's decision requiring due process for the 8 men in Djibouti was not implicated. The majority did not dispute that. Justice Elena Kagan, who dissented in the earlier ruling, did not join her liberal colleagues this time, writing a brief concurring opinion to explain her vote. I do not see how a district court can compel compliance with an order that this court has stayed, she wrote. And that's the end of the article. And again, I want to thank Lawrence Hurley. Lawrence Hurley is a senior Supreme Court reporter for NBC News. Thank you so much for your time, and respectfully stand in agreement for prosperity in your personal life and professional career. And so my feedback real quick, just off the back, this stuff right here is all this here, and this aspect is a more grassroots. So all this here at the international affairs, international level, even the federal level, is areas that I'm still learning and have really not a lot of knowledge in respect to this specific, type of situation. And one thing I did take out of this article is, which I didn't know, respectfully, that the U.S. administration has agreements, if you will, with other countries to send individuals that are under the deportation process within the U.S. And so it just makes you think, even over there in those markets, and so for me, respectfully, I don't know. Because again, we're talking about South Sudan, and we've covered their story. And when we think about, development, we're thinking about health and wellness. We're thinking about opportunity to generate, revenue or some type of income for yourself, if you will, opportunity for housing, being able to raise a family. And those things need to happen, in these countries. I don't know what the details look like. It's just, I know that when individuals have a sustainable opportunity in life, a lot of the challenges decrease, if you will. And I'm not saying that those opportunities are not being taken advantage of, but in all areas, we have to be able to look at all areas and say, okay, well, this area needs to be developed a little bit to make it stronger, really for the whole. Because if we have opportunities where it's stronger for other areas, then it becomes less pressure for the areas that have to, do a little more respectfully. And I don't know the details as to why, maybe some of these, some of these areas or geographic countries, are having the troubles. I don't know. I'm reading the information just like everyone else. And respectfully, I'm not there. And it's a lot of moving parts, but hopefully, again, as I'm not rambling too much, that this conversation just brings more light to, again, I'm covering things that are civic related within the U.S., United Kingdoms, and African diaspora countries. Respectfully, this article was dealing with the U.S. and South Sudan, both of whom we covered. Not only this administration era, but then the previous administration as well, as I'm growing in my civic knowledge and education and engagement. So again, it's a lot of moving parts that I don't know the details to, don't know a lot of, but I do know I need to do more research. And one of those things was, even when it comes to what I learned, even when it comes to, the individuals that are being deported from the United States, going to other countries that they are not originally from, which I was not aware of. Then you're going into the, give me a second, y'all. Then you're going into, that's horrible. Then you're going in, that's not it. I'm looking for, you're going into the United Nations. I don't want to say the word. I want to actually read it specifically. Then you're going into, I haven't lost my train of thought with the word. United Nations against torture. So there's a lot of moving parts because now you're going into the United Nations, so you got to look at all the groups that have to, and this brings it back to what I do in regards to relationship building, relationship management, dealing with engagement when it comes to civics. And ultimately that engagement is almost directly dealing with how you can be the best ambassador, be the best professional ambassador and diplomat for yourself and your cause, if you will, ultimately. But you have to be able to build, there's so much, I don't want to lose train of my thought, but you have to be able to build and maintain these relationships with these other human beings and individuals that represent these brands. And they are part of the process. So no matter if we like them or not or whatever, the US, Sudan, South Sudan, the United Nations have to work together through a process. We want to make sure that process is as integral and where it's supposed to be as possible. So again, I'll throw out, if you hadn't had a chance, check out my YouTube channel, LDH Advising, L as in Lord, D as in Danavan, H as in Hilton, Advising. Fun fact, I'm a registered Lord of Glencoe in this country of Scotland, courtesy of Highland Titles. And so just stimulating conversation. I hope I can leave the link to my 5-minute explainer video as to why I went, how I got my lordship title. And just a disclaimer, if you don't check out the video, the lordship title has nothing to do with faith-based. It is a United Kingdom culture in regards to having a piece of being a landowner and being someone that's professional in your career, if you will, someone that is a master of what they do. And so looking at it from that perspective and looking at stimulate conversation, I've taken it and ran with it. And so if you go to my YouTube channel, LDH Advising, there should be a 35 to 40-minute video talking about how to build relationships from scratch for your professional needs. I think it's a 35 to 50-minute video, free video, how to build professional relationships from scratch, how to build relationships from scratch for your professional needs. 5 steps of, like, if you are an introvert and you don't know how to talk to people, and okay, I have to connect with people and build a working relationship with them for production to happen. And so if you're an introvert, don't know how to do it, 5 steps from how to get started all the way to step 5, where you are using a customer relationship management system now to help manage your contacts and your follow-ups and your conversations, because you have so many people now that you have in your network that you now have to manage your conversation. So it's 5 steps. If you go to I hope I'll leave the link in the description or the comments. But 5 steps. You also have there's a free 5-step checklist as well that you can take with you, as long in addition to that fun 35 to 50-minute webinar on how to build working relationships from scratch for your professional needs. And again, I'm bringing that up and I'm bringing it up through civics because we're looking to build working relationships to where we can at least be able to move forward and peace as best we can and productivity. And so there's a lot of moving parts. I don't know all the details, but I did want to bring this conversation to light in regards to just, South Sudan is a country we've covered multiple times. And let me know what you think in the comments. Again, I want to shout out Lawrence Hurley for this article. I would always suggest, as best as you can, to always go to the administration's articles as well, as far as the actual official website, and also go to like these other, like we mentioned, 9 nations and do research. You know what I mean? So don't take everything at face value, and you want to look at multiple sources as well. But we appreciate the opportunity to become aware. And I want to shout out NBC News for bringing this article to my attention, or this situation, and stand in agreement. Let me know what you think. Thank you for sharing this message with everyone. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following, sharing. And if possible, thank you for your monetary donation in the amount you felt this message was worth by going to my bio. Should be a link there, or should be a link somewhere in the video that you're watching. Stand in agreement for your continued success. Thank you all for your support. I'm going to get ready to get out of here in a few seconds. Not yet. A few more seconds. We're going. A few more seconds. Peace, y'all.